This little girl is really lovable. Just because her parents had a little disagreement, they left her alone in a deserted place. When the little girl was about to get on the bus to find her parents, 2 gunshots were heard from afar. After the little girl's aunt knew about the incident, she immediately reported it to the police. When the police searched the place, they only found the remains of the little girl's parents. But they couldn't find any trace of the little girl. But when everyone thought the little girl had met with misfortune, a miracle happened. A girl with no news suddenly appeared safe and sound out of the forest a week later. But the important thing was how a 5-year-old girl managed to survive in the forest. Shortly after, the police department's psychologist came to conduct an investigation. But the girl's aunt said that the girl couldn't remember anything. At this moment, the doctor saw the picture on the table. The face of the father was blackened, and the doctor immediately called the girl to ask the reason. The girl said that her father was bad, and bad people should be black, so things that are black should be erased, which is only natural. The aunt thought the girl was joking. Surprised the next day, when the little girl came to the park, she just happened to meet the drunken neighbor uncle. While the young man was digging a hole to look for the iron pot, he was crying out of distress. Looking at the young man kneeling down and crying, he still sneered. Does he really consider the dog as a family member? People are really crazy now. The little girl standing not far away witnessed the whole thing. After returning home, the little girl sneaked into the old man's house. When he was sleeping soundly, the little girl took a match and set the straw on fire. No one could imagine that a 5-year-old girl could do such a thing. In the blink of an eye, Kay had become a high school student. That day, she and her classmates saw the corpse of a kitten they often fed in the female restroom smashed. Kay sniffed the cat's food can next to it, a strange smell that couldn't be described. The kitten probably died of poisoning, and the person behind this must have been in the school. Kay and her friends went up to the balcony to observe the passers-by. Then a strange smile appeared on Kay's face, because she had found the murderer who killed the kitten. At this moment, Kay asked her friend, if he found the murderer, what would he do? Her friend replied, I want to kill him. How can he live if he has cruelly killed the kitten? The neighbor's uncle held up a bowl of milk to drink, then began to feel a sad sigh. He stumbled out of the door only to find that it was locked from the outside. In the end, the uncle died in front of the door. Kay was the one standing behind this story outside the main door. When her grandfather left the house, she sneaked into his room, went straight to the refrigerator and put the cold medicine into the milk bottle. To avoid her grandfather feeling strange, she even shook the milk bottle. Then she waited for her grandfather to come back home. She did this because her grandfather had cruelly poisoned the school's kitten. Since that incident happened, Kay seemed to have this feeling of anger or resentment. She started relentlessly searching for the bad guys that hadn't been caught yet. Her next target was the man on TV who had been arrested for his own crime, but in the end he was acquitted and released. First, she followed the man to the milk tea shop. Then, pretending to be a network maintenance staff, she entered the store, citing the reason of repairing the network line. Then she copied all the data in the man's phone and sent it to Kay. After getting the data, the man's phone kept receiving messages. Many fans quickly updated his new post. Hope he can post more vlogs. The next step is how to get perfect evidence. Kay bought a lot of French fries home for experimentation. After taking out the glue and adding oil in the ratio, then pump the glue into the already fried potatoes. Finally throw it in front of the white mouse. It only bit a small piece and died of poisoning. Then Kay contacted the lower level. These people all have one thing in common, that is, they all carry a black doll beside them. Kay sent a message in the group that there was a post reward for the pictures taken under the skirt of the prom queen at the school festival. Sure enough, as expected, in order to get the big prize, the next day the man appeared at the school festival in a black hat. The water bottle in his hand kept pouring down the skirts of the girls. It turns out there was a camera mini installed on the water bottle. Moreover, even the black hat on his head was also equipped with a camera mini for the convenience of the fans to watch the video. He went into a hamburger shop, his eyes fixed on the waitress in front of him. But he didn't know that he had been followed by a ghost for a long time. First, they put the cooking oil mixed with syrup into the hamburger shop. The chef didn't look up and picked it up, pouring it into the pan. The French fries were fried in the cooking oil mixed with syrup, finally appearing in front of the man. He arbitrarily held up a piece and he had to pay for it with his life. Kay's underling was stationed nearby. He poured a different chemical into the water balloon. The water balloon flew with the wind and was smashed by the man. Then he walked across the place where the water war game was taking place. A water balloon filled with chemicals hit the man's head, officially announcing his death. 3 harmless chemical drugs mixed together caused the man to die on the street. The mastermind behind it was not present at the scene, but right at this moment, a pale-faced woman stepped up to the man. She urgently asked him to delete the video of me. Seeing the man in front of him without any movement, the woman took out the dagger she had prepared in advance and stabbed him directly in the chest. At this moment, the woman lost her mind and realized that she had become a murderer in front of many people. She was immediately arrested by the police. Looking at the expression of the girl when she was arrested, Kay was not at ease at all. The man was clearly killed by the woman, so she waited until the next day to hack the screen of the shopping center, posting the whole process of the man's death, because Kay wanted to tell everyone that the real murderer was someone else. But at this time there was a woman wrapped in a blanket standing in the crowd and looking at Kay's writing. This man had just logged into a dark website at home when the police rang the doorbell. He was not afraid and held a crowbar to block them from entering the house. At this moment, Kim noticed a doll in his house. She rushed in to get the doll, but in the end was still chased out of the house by the man. They could not open his computer, but they knew for sure he was involved in the robbery. After Kim left, the man opened the window with the camera and took a picture of them again, and sent it to Kay to see. This made Kay feel very strange. Why would an insurance company's detective be pursuing this case? Kay, out of curiosity, opened the aunt's wardrobe and found an entry card to the insurance company inside. She disguised herself as a janitor and infiltrated the insurance company. Entering the company's office, Kay saw the meticulous evidence of the secret plot to assassinate the man written on the board. Kay had already set up a listening device on the lamp. Unexpectedly, the company's assistant suddenly returned to the office. It turned out to be watering the company's plants. Just as he was about to leave, he noticed a trash can outside the office. So he immediately pushed the trash can to the designated trash collection area in the parking lot. Just as he turned to leave, Kay suddenly emerged from the trash can, calmly walking past him. The scent of perfume emanating from Kay made him feel enchanted. But upon serious consideration, the janitor couldn't possibly have perfume on him. So he immediately gave chase. Kay felt uneasy and quickly ran away, not expecting to not be able to shake him off. Kay was forced to the same street, immediately chose to jump down from the balcony. After breaking his right leg, he successfully cut off the assistant, got on the bus and left. The assistant returned to the office and reported that Hung's right leg was injured. Kim quickly found Kay, prepared to see if her leg was injured. Surprisingly, Kay, in order to prove his innocence, stood up and jumped off the stage and pretended as if nothing had happened. After discovering Kay was not injured, Miss Kim turned away. Kay couldn't take it anymore, immediately taking out painkillers to drink. He couldn't ignore this woman anymore. The woman was pouring water into the pool where the children were playing. After Kim saw this, she thought there was poison in the water and quickly warned the children to leave. Just then, the girl drank the remaining water. Kim only then realized that it was her own prank. In her hand was only a bottle of ordinary mineral water. Everything was under Kim's control, and even the colleague in charge of supervision on the car had an accident. Suddenly there was a strange smell. The gas Kay had prepared beforehand, slowly spreading out. Colleagues wanted to get off the car but found the door couldn't be opened. Someone had locked it from the outside. Not long after, the two people in the car had completely lost consciousness. When Ms. Kay returned, she couldn't find the car. At this time, Ms. Kay only realized that the criminal was standing behind, not easy to resist. If the investigation continued, the colleague next to her would be in danger. After the colleague calmed down, it was pitch black around, unable to see anything. The two of them tried to untie the rope and open the lid, only to find out that it was a container outside. Moreover, they could feel the cold seawater underneath their feet. It was clear that they were now locked up on the sea. The colleague quickly called for Ms. Kim. Ms. Kim and her assistant hurriedly took an electric car to search. They had searched all the surrounding seas, but no container was found. Yet here the container was slowly sinking into the sea, and the two people inside were still desperately waiting for help. When Ms. Kim came to the beach again, the sea was very calm. How could the container not be at the beach? So she immediately took out her phone and started analyzing the sea area. Two people had gone missing near the parking lot, and a sweetwater lake had caught Kim's attention. At this point, the container had been completely submerged, and the water pressure inside had reached its limit. Her colleagues inside were trying their best, and finally managed to open the door at the bottom of the container because the door had to be guarded. I bade Kyo to go out first. As he stepped out of the water, he saw Kim and her rescue team. When I was rescued from the water, he was completely overwhelmed and fell into a kiss. Fortunately, in the end, both of them were fine. Kay, the one standing behind all this. At this moment, he was using a telescope to observe all the things from afar. Unexpectedly, an old man suddenly appeared behind her. He self-proclaimed himself as an expert in the bird-loving society. He said that recently a very rare kingbird had appeared. He kept turning the telescope for Kay to look left and then right, making Kay startled. Then he took out a package and gave it to Kay. She didn't pay attention and continued to observe Kim. Unexpectedly, two policemen came to find Kay saying that he had just received a report that someone around here was carrying drugs. Kay was confused and didn't understand what was going on. Unexpectedly, the police found the drugs in the package. Kay was embarrassed and taken to the police station for investigation. Who was the real culprit behind all this? What happened in the end? But Kim couldn't pay much attention. After confirming that her colleague had nothing to worry about, she immediately opened an investigation. After knowing that Kay was locked in the police station, Kim hurried to the police station. The man dumped out a pile of bags and picked up one of them and took Kay's phone. Kay is a girl who specializes in killing bad guys. Today she will take a flight abroad. After hearing the news, everyone was busy. A large number of followers were arranged at the airport, mixed in with the passengers on the plane. The whole airport was like a martial arts arena. What's strange is that these people were not police, but followed the orders of an old lady over 60. Mrs. Sung, the owner of the insurance company, also came to the scene this time to arrest. But Mrs. Sung's whereabouts were always a mystery. At this time, Kay's aunt had arrived at the airport to do the boarding procedures, and was immediately followed, but they did not find Kay's whereabouts. At this moment, Kay received a message. They had an appointment at the airport. Kim and her assistant were waiting outside the airport and saw him. It was almost time for the plane to take off. The airport announced the boarding call. Kay's fever was called to Kay, and the insurance company's personnel also determined the location of Kay's phone. It was found that Kay had gone to the airport. Kay's appearance also made I take a deep breath, just loosening her mood a bit and then starting to tense up again. They didn't detect Kay at the place where the phone signal surveillance camera at the airport appeared, but also couldn't find Kay. However, when the call was connected, Kay was found to be at home at this time. Even the phone was connected to the airport through its own lower level. Then, through the two-way call, he talked to his sister. Suddenly, the sky was dark, and finally nothing was recovered. The phone was thrown into the trash after the call was finished. The airport just now was suddenly empty and strangely accompanied by the retreat of the people who were chasing Kay. After knowing that the other side had arranged a lot of people to capture her, not only was she not afraid, but she was also very proud. Just when she was proud of herself for deceiving so many people, suddenly a figure appeared outside the door. Kim had discovered Kay's hiding place. Now she was looking through the window to search for Kay. Kim immediately decided to open the door. Kay was inside, trying to hold the door shut, but it was not a good way to keep it closed. Kay opened the door, holding an axe beside him, ready to hit Kim. After Kim saw this, she immediately closed the door. The situation reversed and Kim was now trying to hold the door shut. Kay was trying to open the door. At the same time, Kay was trying to push the door open. Kim, who was over 50 years old, was not Kay's opponent after all. Soon after, the door was pushed open by Kay. Kay rushed in and stood up, standing in front of Kim as if nothing had happened. How would a new 20-year-old assassin fight with a 50-year-old female detective? Kim, who only stayed at home to play games because she had not been exercising for a long time, was obviously not Kay's opponent. Kay stared straight at Kim and punched continuously, finally still throwing a fatal punch. Kim was about to go meet her ancestors when, in a crucial moment, she grabbed the vase on the table and splashed it on Kay's face. When Kay calmed down, she found herself locked in an embrace with Kim. Kim then swallowed the key and thought that Kay would obediently listen to her. But Kay dragged Kim to the table next to them, raised a long knife and was about to stab her. At that moment, a fishing net suddenly flew in, trapping both of them in it. Turns out it was Kim's assistant. But soon after, Kay used a hacksaw to cut the mesh. Seeing this, the assistant immediately ran away, while Kim was also thrown hard against the wall by Kay. Then he took the hairpin down to unlock the handcuffs and ran away. Just ran out. He was met by the police investigation due to the assistant's betrayal. But the assistant had to suffer for his betrayal. Kay only said a few words which made the police investigation leave. When they realized, Kay had already used a boat to leave. They hurriedly drove a boat to chase after him. But Kay surprisingly jumped into the water. The real criminal once again disappeared right in front of Kim's eyes. Have you ever seen a company like this? All the employees' afternoon tea was a cup of medicine, but they were still very proud because their boss was not only the chairman of a listed company but also a candidate for the next term of the market. But there was one employee in the company who couldn't bear the bullying of all the employees in the company, so he took the initiative to leave the company. Gatham, the man whom everyone hailed as the great military strategist, made Kim suspicious. In order to find out Kay's target for murder, Kim and I went to Gatham's company to investigate Gatham. Kim took a cheap bottle of fruit juice from her bag and gave it to him. Gatham said he liked this kind of juice on the surface, but after opening the bottle, he didn't drink a single sip. During the discussion of the case with I, he put the bottle of juice on the table, which was also noticed by Kim. And when the question about the case turned to Gatham, he always had a smile on his lips. But every sentence seemed to be changing the topic. After the two people left Gatham's office, in Kim's eyes, Gatham was not a righteous and moral person, but a fake moralist. Just as Kim said when only Gatham was left in the room, he revealed an ugly face and changed his attitude. At this moment, Kim, who had just stepped out of the room after standing in the elevator counting down 5 seconds, immediately spun around and returned to Gatham's office. Just as she encountered Gatham, she had just finished venting her anger. Kim immediately pretended to forget her belongings. At this moment, she saw a piece of glass left on his pants and concluded that this man was a two-faced creature. The next target of Kay is Gatham. Now the investigation team is facing a complex issue. It is worth to die 1,000 times for someone like Gatham. If Kay really intends to kill Gatham, should Kim get involved? At this time, because the house has been blocked by the police, Kay has to live a life of poverty, living under the bridge every day. Even in such a desperate situation, she still insists on making a plan of action. Should a murderer who kills evil people be punished by law? Upon closer inspection, the man was preparing to go to work at the company. Unexpectedly, a large truck appeared next to him, as a bodyguard. As he drove the car into the company, about a dozen people in black bowed to him. Because he was not only the chairman of a listed company, but also a future candidate for mayor. But even so, he could not escape Kay's punishment. In the blink of an eye, there was a package at the gate of Gatham Company, and everyone was curious to run and see. But a second later, the package exploded immediately. After knowing that Gatham had shifted all the responsibility onto the security team leader, he gave a lot of money to hire guards, claiming to turn the meeting room into an iron wall. But this did not affect Kay's plan. Soon after, the event still took place as planned. At this time, Kim's investigation team was also monitoring the scene. I was in charge of command. Kim and her assistant disguised as service staff and tea mixers and blended in with the guards. Just then, Kay's man also disguised as a service staff and tea mixer and blended into the exhibition. He pushed the food cart with the bomb into the exhibition hall, then pressed the button. A group of small robots flew out of the food cart, and everyone was immediately attracted to it. At this moment, Kay saw through the camera that his aunt was also present. Kay couldn't calm down anymore, so she immediately ordered her subordinates to drag her out. But aunt not only doesn't suit you, on the contrary, she keeps asking where is Kay. Ms. Kim discovered her aunt's abnormality. Her subordinates did not care about her safety, but chose to run away alone. Gatham noticed something unusual and jumped out of the machine. Unexpectedly a second later, the machine in the back exploded. The exhibition hall immediately became chaotic. Gatham entered the secret exit prepared in advance. This scene was seen by Kay's aunt and immediately chased. Kay was worried that her aunt would be in danger, so she called her aunt and quickly ran to the gallery. But just as Kay ran across the road, a car was coming straight ahead. Hearing the car brakes on the phone, aunt immediately ran out. Unexpectedly fell into the trap that Kay set for Gatham. Her chest continued to bleed. It turned out that the steel rod had passed through the woman. By the time Kay arrived, my aunt had already stopped breathing. At this point all became meaningless for Kay. Even the assassination target, Gatham, was taken away by I. No time to grieve. Subordinates dragged Ko into the car and the president on this side was also taken by I's men to a vacant lot. Mrs. Sung began to interrogate him over the phone. Gatham and Sung could be seen knowing each other. There seems to be a secret between the two of them. Gatham says he will keep it a secret, but Sung feels that only the dead can keep a secret. First, his subordinates took a gas needle and injected Gatham with an unknown drug. He immediately lost his mind. Then let him get in the car, fasten his seatbelt, start the engine and shift to 0. Then use a piece to press down on the accelerator pedal, and finally take a rope to tie it to the gear lever. The other end of the rope passed through the car door. 2 hands pulled the car immediately forward. But it's not over yet. The housekeeper calmly lit the fire, then threw it on the ground full of oil. The car immediately caught fire, causing the engine to explode shortly after coming into contact with the fire. In the end this case was handled as a traffic accident. After handling, the police held a funeral for Kay's aunt. But her only relative, Kay, was not present at the funeral. Kay is sitting in a restaurant eating rice. A mother at a dining table not far away was having a tantrum with her child. A slipper was thrown at Kay's dining table. The hostess saw this and rushed to apologize. But Kay pretended not to care. Then follow the woman out and drag her to the terrace. Slip the slippers into her mouth and prepare to push her down. The woman used all her strength to push Kay down and then used that opportunity to prepare to run away. Unexpectedly, Kay sneezed, suddenly knocking the woman down from the rooftop. Kay rushed out to check the situation and found the woman dead. Then Kay's subordinates blackened her body and dumped it in the river. Since Gatham is dead, Kay has now lost his killing target. The subordinate next to her reminded Kay, "Don't you want to avenge your aunt?" These words really aroused Kay's interest. She knew that Ms. Kim was a game addict, so she set up an account in the game through the game to contact Ms. Kim. Moreover, he said he wanted to meet Ms. Kim once. First, Ms. Kim sent a specific meeting place to Kay, then set up a trap at the rendezvous point. Unexpectedly, Kay had predicted that Ms. Kim would take this opportunity to arrest her. Kay walked behind the man posing as a waiter with a smile on his face, then put his arm around his shoulder. The police were about to come to help, but Kay was also pushed to the ground. Kay then pulled out his prepared dagger. He made a long, deep cut on his arm. Kay calls Ms. Kim and says that Gatham was taken away by a mysterious person, but the message board says it was a traffic accident. The investigation team obviously has a lot of people. Why is I alone getting a promotion? After saying that, Kay immediately turned off the phone and left the meeting place. Kay's next target is I, who is often home alone. While she was not on guard, Kay strangled her to the point of fainting with a towel. The next day, when Ms. Kim went up the mountain, she wanted to find Sung to ask about Gatham's death. But she firmly said that Gatham died in a traffic accident, and also blamed Ms. Kim for not working diligently. Always let Kay escape. As the two were talking, Kay wearing I's coat suddenly appeared in front of them. Ms. Kim was shocked and seemed to have understood the whole truth. This woman was locked in the trunk of a car, then taken to the wilderness and locked in a wine barrel. Then, a kick pushed Ms. Kim down the mountain. The barrel quickly rolled down the mountain, through the lush forest, rolled over several streams, and finally fell into a hole. After Ms. Kim regained consciousness, she found herself lying in the middle of a black hole with only a few iron bars around to support her. Ms. Kim took off a shoe and threw it down, wanted to see how deep the hole was. The result was found that she did not hear any sound. It seemed that she would die if she fell. So, Ms. Kim slowly stood up, got up, decided to follow the iron bar to leave here. Unexpectedly due to carelessness, he almost fell down. But on this side, 2 of Ms. Kim's assistants, through the tracking device in her shoe, ran to a garbage dump in the suburbs. Suddenly a shoe that fell from the garbage truck caught the 2's attention. The assistant turned over the shoe and soles and saw Ms. Kim's tracking device. It seems that Ms. Kim is here. At this time, Ms. Kim decided to try again, but she slipped and almost fell down. Fortunately, she reacted quickly, grabbing the iron rod with her hand. She desperately followed the iron bar, intending to jump over and cling to the ladder. But unexpectedly the ladder was degraded due to many years of not being repaired. Under great force it immediately broke. When Miss Kim woke up, the moon was already up. Fortunately, Ms. Kim fell into an old fishing net to save her life. After resting for a night, Ms. Kim picked up a box of fish, then used the lid of the box to cut the fishing net. Finally used the fishing net just cut into a rope and then slowly climb up. Although the support is only 100 meters high, for Ms. Kim, it is just as difficult as climbing into the sky. In the blink of an eye, it's midnight. Miss Kim climbed all day to see the crater coming, but now Miss Kim has reached the limit. At the crucial moment, I reached out and pulled her up. This is the cruelest mother I've ever seen, shoving her son's head into a pot full of chili sauce. That she did, just because her son feeds a girl kimchi in public. So that the eldest son could be elected mayor, a meeting was held. In order to show his friendliness in front of the media, let the girl next to him eat kimchi made by him. But unexpectedly the girl refused. Sung's youngest son Hyun ran over after seeing this. He also asked the girl to try the kimchi he made with his own hands. As a result, that girl not only ate kimchi but also praised Yoontae. So Mrs. Sung called Hyun to the kitchen. Turns out Hyun knew that girl. Because of this person, he was once blackmailed by scammers. After hearing this, Mrs. Sung was extremely angry and pressed her son's head into the chili sauce pot. After the activity ended, Mrs. Sung called Kay over. She wants Kay to help solve the scammers who blackmailed her son. Kay says he only kills bad guys. Mrs. Sung did not stop talking about the bad things the scammers did. In the elevator, a man is on the phone. He didn't notice Kay hiding behind the balloons. Kay released a balloon to cover the camera. The remaining balls explode one by one. In the balloon containing toxic gas immediately spread throughout the elevator. The man wanted to ring the alarm in the elevator, but unexpectedly was electrocuted to death. Not long after, the man fell to the ground. This is also Kay's easiest murder since Mrs. Sung is in charge of disposing of the corpse. Next target, Kay begins to question Mrs. Sung's motives. Look closely. Do you see the man hiding in here? Trying to disguise himself just to eavesdrop on other people trading melons. After listening, immediately return home to write articles. Suddenly a thread of string quietly wound around his neck. The man was hung up. Kay climbed through the roof to the man's house. Her next assassination target is this journalist. Just when she saw the report on the man's computer, Kay discovered that he was not as bad as Mrs. Sung said. So why would she want to kill this man? Kay threatened the reporter, so he found the memory card in his house. The contents of the memory card are Gatham's secret. Kay put the reporter in a cardboard box via courier and delivered to his subordinates. Unexpectedly, Ms. Kim's group is now at his house, having just caught a reporter. The memory card was repaired by his subordinates, and discovered that this was the case on the previous yacht. Moreover, the number of people on the yacht is less than the actual number of people. It seems that this video was intentionally processed by someone else, making it impossible to find this person for revenge. The reporter also said that the source of the memory card was Gatham's not long before the accident. But at this time, Kay still thinks that he disguised himself very well. No one noticed. Unexpectedly, the housekeeper discovered something unusual. The housekeeper discovered that before the newsroom blew up, someone moved a large box of paper out of the office. This grate is definitely problematic. After returning to the mansion, the housekeeper came to question Kay. He assumed that Kay had not yet killed the reporter in the newsroom. So he ordered the doorman to inject Kay's anesthetic and take her to the secret room where he planned to torture him to testify. After Kay regained consciousness, he saw a man holding an axe. The corners of her mouth worked up incessantly. Right at this moment, a cry for help came from the cell. But the next thing she does is find Mrs. Sung to take revenge. This kid is a double-faced scum in front of the media, a gentle, well-educated young man. But in fact he is a debauched playboy, overbearing and murderous. Often sail yachts out to sea to party, possess and use many illegal drugs. But he calmly took the phone to take pictures. At the same time, Ms. Kim was also able to open Gatham's USB and found out who was deleted in the video. That is Mrs. Sung's youngest son named Hyun. Sung, to protect her son, ordered Gatham to be killed. Kay, the person who specializes in punishing the bad guys, is also the object that Mrs. Sung wants to eliminate. Because her youngest son is a scum. On this side, Kay has arrived outside the temple because her next assassination target is Mrs. Sung's youngest son. Mrs. Sung is justifying her son's crimes. Suddenly a man splashed acid in her face. The scene immediately became chaotic. I immediately took off her shirt to cover the camera lens. Mrs. Sung was immediately taken to the hospital. Ms. Kim also visited Mrs. Sung, but she didn't know she turned into this form all because of Ms. Kim. Is that she sent the video on the yacht to all the famous reporters in the newsrooms. In Kim's opinion, as long as everyone knows what Hyun did, Kay will not dare to look down on his opponent. Where Kay found Miss Kim's assistant. Although the assistant followed Kay investigation for a long time, at the same time he also assessed Kay and how to punish Kay's bad guys. So he gave Gatham's USB to Kay. After knowing Hyun's crime, Kay immediately calls subordinates. They began to assign jobs, as long as the bad person appearing in the video will receive a black doll. At the same time, when Kay's men retreated from the scene, they bumped into Miss Kim again. Kay still doesn't know his people have been arrested, and is still planning to deal with Hyun. Kay brought Sung's voice message to Hyun. If my brother died, not only me and my mother would be happy, but there would also be one less bad guy in the world. When Hyun heard it, he immediately told Kay he was willing to spend $1 billion for Kay to take care of his mother and brother. Hyun then held a press conference, intending to expose his brother's crimes in front of all reporters. Unexpectedly, Kay let her people infiltrate the press conference. When Hyun gave a speech, he caused a riot, directly causing him to be engulfed by the crowd. At this time, the housekeeper who was about to flee abroad also encountered an accident. The car suddenly broke down in the middle of the road. Kay suddenly appeared in the back, shot a tranquilizer in the head, took the gun from his pocket, then opened the car door. Mrs. Sung is like a goat that can be slaughtered at any time. Kay is about to play a thrilling game with her. If he loses, he will die. If she had to choose, either kill 20 suspects or kill her own son, which would you choose? Sung still did not know at this time the 20 suspects that had been gathered by Kay. Among them was her eldest son, Sung. Suddenly, 2 small electric toys appeared on the ground, one representing Hyatt, the other representing 20 suspects. Mrs. Sung had to make a choice within 60 seconds. But what surprised Kay was that Mrs. Sung had withheld the lives of 20 suspects. This made Kay very surprised, didn't expect a selfish old woman like her to be able to do such a thing. But it's not over yet. Kay took Hyun's $1 billion won, so he couldn't swallow his words. So she picked up 2 electric toys again, one representing Hyatt, one representing Mrs. Sung herself. Unexpectedly, she decided to directly choose her own life. Her actions made Kay very difficult to understand. This is not Mrs. Sung's style, so she removed the bandages on her face. The moment she took off the bandage, Mrs. Sung turned into Miss Kim again. Found out his plan was ruined. Kay couldn't have imagined that all of her plans were within Miss Kim's predictions. She followed the video in Kay's hand, sent her assistants to an abandoned building, and told him to release all violators. One of the suspects told the assistant, Sunt is still in a coma inside the building. After hearing this, the assistant immediately ran into the building and saw that the bomb was about to explode. Ms. Kim Fi immediately found the topic of conversation to buy time, told Kay to give her the remote to press. Kim finally pressed the button, and the whole building exploded. I immediately ran inside and started looking for an assistant. Luckily found the assistant and Sung in the fridge. But on this side, Mrs. Sung's people surrounded the whole theater, pointed guns at Kay. Even Mrs. Sung also came here with a look of revenge, picked up a gun and shot Kay's subordinate to the ground. Ms. Kim wanted to go and check on the situation, but she stopped her with a single shot, apparently intending to kill everyone. Right at this moment, Kay picked up the pistol and fired at the enemy, and when they dodged the bullets, he pulled his subordinates to hide behind the curtain. But the wounded subordinate was shot. His life is in danger. Looking at the 4 people with no way out, Mrs. Sung advised them not to protest anymore, obediently staying in one place. But Miss Kim suddenly threw a bomb. Kay saw that and immediately ran to press the detonation button. Until Miss Kim calmed down, Kay took her subordinates and ran away. Kim chased after them, saw the 2 getting on the train, so she also followed. The 3 of them stayed like that in the same carriage preparing for the final match. Right at this moment, Kay suddenly smiled and asked if she knew that her subordinates were always following her. Kim did not react. Kay laughed again and then explained the reason. It turns out that 5 years ago, Ms. Kim was a famous prosecutor. But one day, her husband's student threw himself into the river. When everyone was wondering what was going on, someone pointed a finger at her husband's face and said that it was because he had toyed with the student's feelings. At that time, even Miss Kim believed it. She asked her husband what happened in the end. Seeing that the wife he loved deeply did not believe him, the man finally could not bear the pressure and also sought death. But in fact, the girl who danced alive at that time had a secret boyfriend, who was also Miss Kim's assistant. But at that time, because of fear, he chose to pretend to know nothing. But the reason he chose to be Miss Kim's assistant was because he still couldn't overcome the barrier in his heart. As soon as Kay finished speaking, Miss Kim immediately rushed to grab the assistant. Kay knew that she had succeeded, took out the gun and gave it to Kim to choose whether to shoot herself or shoot her assistant. Unexpectedly, Miss Kim suddenly rushed to fight with Kay's assistant, ran to help and was knocked unconscious. Miss Kim is also not Kay's opponent, fighting for a while is defeated. Just when Kay was about to pull the trigger, Kim woke up and immediately opened the door and hugged Kay and jumped out. The 2 fell into a coma in the woods. Kay is finally caught by the police, an endless prison sentence awaits her, and Ms. Kim were taken to the hospital for treatment, enjoying everyone's care. Mrs. Sung was eventually arrested by the police because the video was released. The youngest son was prosecuted for intentionally causing injury and matchmaking. The eldest son Sung, although he did not do anything bad, was still implicated by his family. In the end, he had no choice but to actively withdraw from the electoral roll. No matter what happens, in the end no one can escape the law of cause and effect. Above is the full content of the movie, Inspector Cool. On a 10-point scale, how would you rate this movie? Please post your answer in the comments section below. Thank you for watching all of our videos. Goodbye and see you again.